Morning, Shirelings, or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you may be. It's been a long time since I've done a longer style video, but I wanted to do one because I just finished a short little project. These gnats are horrible today, and I wanted to, show everybody what I've done and what it looks like. So hopefully I can get some comments and ideas and corrections, because I'm by no means an expert on any of this. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. But without further ado, here it is. So there we go. So this is a Joe Salatin style chicken tractor that I built. It took me a couple of days, just 2 days over the weekend to put this together. It's very light, so I imagine this is a little smaller than the typical Joe Salatin chicken tractor. It's also a lot lighter. I don't need to put a wheel in the back to slide anything under it in order to move it. I just pick up the ropes at the front and I drag it. Now, I didn't make any videos when I was building this, but I'll give you an idea of what I did. So you can see here this panel. So I built 4 of those. So it's just a piece of 2x1 with a slat going across the top and on the bottom. And then in order to eliminate the gap that invariably happens because one piece of wood is laying on top of another, I cut a piece and put it right here in the middle. And then after I had 4 of these done, I covered them all with the chicken wire. And you can see here, it's not super tight, but it's pretty stretched out. And if you look inside, you'll notice that all 4 sides have chicken wire. Even though 2 of the sides are covered, they do have chicken wire. So once that was done, I needed to put the 4 panels together. And to do that, I put a piece of wood it's a 1.5 by 2, I believe. Well, I'm not really sure, but I put a piece of wood right here in the corner, and I screwed it from each side to make sure that it was holding this piece together. And I did that on all 4 corners. Everything held together pretty well, but I needed to figure out a way to make sure that the whole frame was as sturdy and stable as possible. So what I decided to do was to put these cross beams that you see right there. So just I cut one end at 45 degrees, measured, and then cut the other end at 45 degrees as well, and screwed those in from the outside. And I did that on the other opposite end as well. And then, kind of hard to show you, but you can see that on the opposing corner, I did it on top instead of on the bottom. So you've got those here, and then you've got that one and that one there on the opposing corner. In addition to that, I ran a slat across the middle here, and you can see that that's the slat I've got there. Now, in order to connect it, I put a little piece of lumber over here, screwed it or nailed it together, I forget now, and then screwed it from the outside so that it's holding this piece. Did the same thing on the other side. And then over here, what I did is I had a flexible piece of slat that was long enough. So I did a similar thing, except I ran it underneath over there from front to back so that it adds a little bit more stability. So now this thing is very stable, but still very light. And for the sheathing that I put on top of here, now this is old greenhouse plastic sheathing. It's plastic fiberglass sheathing that used to be on the greenhouse. I've been saving those, and you can see all the pieces over there that I've cut them apart and finally got a use out of them. The sheathing and the chicken wire were all stapled. Some of it better than others, of course, because I have a little hand stapler. It's not an industrial strength stapler, so it doesn't quite go through some of the tougher wood, but it's on there enough that it's not going anywhere. And I put enough staples that it's not going anywhere. And you can see here that I have kind of a piece sticking out, but that's because I had another piece that had a hole in it. So rather than cut one of the larger pieces, I just slid a smaller one in there and then make sure that it was holding. I put 3 screws on there, but everything else has got staples. And you can see the door here got a little chain connected right there to a little eye hook. And this chain is just an old dog chain that I found on the property, and I saved it because you never know when that kind of stuff is going to come in handy. The top of this, yes, it doesn't fit in on the bottom like a door would. I intentionally made it longer and bigger so that it would sit on top of that. I didn't want it to sit flush with the top. I wanted it to sit on top. So just cut 4 pieces of wood, overlap them, and you can see here on the back how I did it. So I got this long piece going across, and then I got 2 pieces going to the front. And I did the same thing over there, except that over here, in order to close that gap, I put another piece measured and cut and put another piece of wood right there. That's the one that's going all the way across. So you can see here the wood where it joins. So that's the one piece coming from the back, and this is the horizontal. And then on top, there would have been a gap here, just like there is in the back. I put this piece of wood here for 2 reasons. One, to close that gap, because I didn't want to have, something like this where I have to bend the chicken wire. And also to make it heavier in the front so that any little critters or whatever try to lift that, they won't be able to. The chicken wire on top, these are 3 pieces, and it kind of looks messy because you see how they're overlapping over here. But that's because I used the scrap that was left over. See, it's not very wide, from when I was doing the panels on the sides. But that's it. It's all done. Now I can drag it out to the yard, and I can put my chickens that are in the brooder out in their little new box, and the new chicks that are in the incubator can come out and go in the brooder. But I hope you find this instructive, educational. Try it at your own risk, because like I said, I am kind of making this up as I go along. I'm not an expert by any means, but it seems to work. I like this a lot more than the last one that I tried to make because it's a lot lighter and basically just drag it with one hand. The other one, couldn't move it unless I had the tractor. And this has a lot more space. So just to give you an idea, because I still have it over here, I got to take it apart, burn it or something. But this is my first attempt at building a chicken tractor. I mean, it worked, but it was super heavy. It was basically a Fort Knox for chicken. Nothing could get in, nothing could get out, because this thing was built out of all 2x4s from scrap pallets that I took apart. There's a little section back here where I had a sliding door and everything. And I had a lifting gate on the back, a lifting gate on the front, but it was so freaking heavy. Oh, and on the bottom I have 4x4s on either side. They're like railroad ties running the whole length, front and back of this thing, which made it even heavier. So yeah, super heavy, not very practical at all. That was my first attempt. I wouldn't call it a failure, but it certainly wasn't easy to use. This one, on the other hand, I am going to call a success because it's a lot lighter, a lot more practical, a lot easier to use, and it's probably going to last just as long, if not longer, than the one I had over there. But all right, I hope everybody has a great day, great weekend, and stay safe out there, Shirelings. Bye-bye.